Anyway, I want you guys to take notes, because today I'm going to be talking about the habits of what successful real estate agents do. A lot of these habits that I've written down, I went in 3 deep on them, but there's a lot of things that I do here every single day, and then I'll get into detail, but I want you guys to write them because at some point in time, you guys need to learn sales. Sales is very, very important part of life. You're doing sales everything, even with your children, family members, friends. You're constantly selling something, selling yourself, selling the service that you're going to provide, the food that you guys are going to eat. So I want you guys to really, really take this into consideration Sorry, that was Jess, not me, the other Jess. Anyway, write this down as your header. 12 habits of successful real estate agent. You can apply it to whatever you want. Here's the first one. Invest in yourself and in your business. One thing that I've been doing constantly to develop the company culture is to get you guys in the mentality of reading books all the time. Reading books all the time is one of the most important things, because guess what? Most people don't read any books. Most people don't even build a habit to read anything else other than their social media. And I get it. It's very trendy right now. But the reality is that how many of you guys feel like sometimes you guys are having shitty days or crappy days? I guess I'm not the only one. But the reality is that in these books, they're going to give you live examples of things that people have overcame in the past, and that's what helps you get through it. So I want you to write down right now that a lot of the extra time that you have in your schedule can be used to do things that are extremely productive. I want to share with you guys something that happened to me recently. My get ready time from when I wake up to when I'm out of the house is 18 minutes. I've discussed it in the past with you guys, right? I was trying to wonder why I was always having an issue when it came down to the 18-minute time frame. Why does it extend to 40, 45 minutes an hour? Have you guys ever noticed that? You get ready and it takes such a long time to get ready, and it just seems like you're always trailing behind and you're always late and you're never there on time. Am I the only one that always deals with that? No. Okay, so the issue is that you have to make sure that you invest in your daily habits so that every single morning things are happening the exact same way. So here, as a note, instead of listening to audio podcasts and developing your skills, you guys constantly are doing something else, like listening to music. And trust me, I'm not against you guys listening to music. I just think you should invest a lot of your driving time into feeding your subconscious and listening to things that are going to yield you a higher return. Does that make any sense? Like, music is fantastic, but picking up good habits is what's going to make you a great salesperson or an average salesperson. Read business-related book that can expand your horizons in ways that are still relevant to your career. If you guys have noticed, and if I'm giving you one-on-one coaching, I will constantly tell you that you need to be really reading the real estate articles that are provided in the magazines that come in every single month. How many of you guys have seen them? Have you read the one?
Yeah, you gave me one.
Okay, and the reason I coach people to do this is because I want you guys to stay relevant with what's actually going on right now. Most people don't even know that we can get back to work completely. Did you guys know that already? Did you guys know that they have given us the authorization to fully get back into our real estate activities? Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. The only way I was able to find that out is through research and reading of a lot of the content that's out there for our industry. So highly recommendation, and I want you guys to make this commitment. Write down that you're going to read at least one real estate related book as a part of your sales training. You guys need to make sure that you guys stay relevant. Learning more about your industry will help you become an expert in your field. This is the reason why I keep teaching you guys during the morning masterminds the closing costs. How many of you guys feel like you can defend yourself more now with the customers? Because I feel like every time I look into a closing statement, I have a better understanding of what things cost versus being the professional that's always there trying to catch up. Like, I don't even understand title fee. You know, today we learned about title fees, right? So I want you guys to really invest some time in that. Learn things that are your industry. Number 2, I want you, and I'm going to go right through them because I have a meeting. Number 2 is know your neighbors in and out. How many of you guys have seen properties go up for sale in your area? And how does that make you feel?
Sick in the stomach.
Right. Yeah, that happens to me all the time. So every time I'm driving around, I make it a habit to stop and have a quick conversation with all of my neighbors. I want you guys to get into the habit. You guys need to have an understanding. I wrote it down for you guys here. If you get asked a question about a street, you need to answer with what's on the market, what sold recently, and the overall status of the neighborhood and its market. How many of you guys know how many houses are for sale in your neighborhood? Okay. Can I give you guys a quick
Like in
hint?
where, okay.
Yeah, where you live,
Yeah.
or wherever you're farming.
Mhm.
If you go on Zillow, Zillow gives you the opportunity to save your search and narrow it down to the zip code that you want to know. For example, I'm very passionate about San Fernando, Silmar, Pacoima. Guess what I did on Zillow? I went and I searched the zip code and I asked Zillow to remind me every time something comes into the market. And every single night, at the end of the night, they'll give you suggestions of how many properties are on the market. These are very easy things that you guys can do just so that you guys can stay relevant. This is a reason why I'm teaching you guys about closings and loan closings, because I want to make sure that you show up to a closing table, and when you show up to the closing table, you could defend yourself. This is the exact same reason why I want you guys to have the education to also be on your mobile applications all the time, so that if you know that there's a customer that wants to buy for $750,000 and you get that reminder on your phone, what are you going to do? You're going to send it to them, right? Why would you send it to them? Because it's going to show that you're a market expert. Does that make any sense? So that's something that I'm constantly doing. Every time I see myself on Instagram, I'm like, man, I got to go on Zillow. I got to go on to my CRFLS app. I got to go on to anything that can provide some value, because the reality is that sending properties to my customer is going to provide a much larger return than me liking pictures on Instagram. Does that make any sense? Yeah, and that's very normal. That just shows that you're not doing your job. And those are all the people that are clicking on our live websites. 90% of the people that are engaging right now with Global Premier Properties are people that are frustrated with real estate agents that are not providing any value to the customer. Does that make any sense? So you need to be on top of it, and your checklist provides that value. So that's number 2, for you guys to make sure you guys know your neighborhood. Number 3, practice listing presentations and phone calls. If you guys have arrived early and on time, you guys have noticed that I'm constantly practicing what I'm saying all the time. I practice so much what I say that I get this all the time. You're so scripted. I know you're just repeating, and it's not on purpose. It's just something that's always triggered in my mind because I know what people want to hear. Does that make sense to you guys? So in the sales environment, you need to make sure that you're highly skilled, because that's what the marketplace demands right now. The marketplace demands a professional that understands closing costs, a professional that understands market conditions, and a person that's willing to commit to a process so that they can yield the exact same returns every single time. So I need you guys to make sure that if you guys are not doing anything, if you're going through a hump because of the COVID-19, just make the effort to show up at 8:30 every morning and listen to a little bit of what we're talking about in our mastermind. Yesterday, we discovered that Teresa was struggling with the request of closing costs because we were unsure if 2% was enough money for her to cover the closing costs or not. And today in the mastermind meeting, we discovered that 2% is what? It's not enough. So we now have to take a different approach to it, but record yourself. This is something I do all the time. I record my conversations and I always play them back when I'm changing. So I shower, get ready to change. I do my buyer pre-qualification script, and then I put it on my voice note, and I'm constantly listening to it. Does that make any sense? The other day I was playing it. My daughter even says to me, "Wow, Dad, you sound so handsome." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" Like, but you get what I'm saying, though? Like, you need to be comfortable in your own voice. Sometimes we have the fear of speaking to people because we don't know what we sound like. But the more you hear yourself, the more comfortable you'll be talking to people and doing your calls or whatnot. Number 4 is have a plan on the listing presentation. The reason that I'm pushing the listing presentation right now to you guys that are watching online and to everybody that's sitting here is because we need to make sure that we're focusing on creating more inventory so that the minute that they allow us to open house, we get more what? More traction and more consumers. Does that make any sense? So you guys need to make sure that you guys have a plan on the listing presentation. I've made the listing presentation so easy for you guys that all you have to do is go to Catherine and tell her, hey, this is a property that potentially is going to get listed. You still have to do your job as the realtor and find out what the comparables are in the area, but she can help you finely tune a presentation so that when you show up to the customer, you have every base covered. Does that make sense to you guys? So for the listing presentation, you guys need to have a plan, and I want to go through all of this stuff. But the one thing that I wanted to point out today, and the three things that I wanted you guys to write down, and the reason that I'm experiencing a lot of success with listings is these are the three questions that I always ask people when I sit with them for a listing presentation. Number one, when can I start promoting your home to my buyer's list? Does that make any sense to you guys? When can I start promoting your home to my buyer's list? Why do I like to say that all the time? Because 90% of the consumer that I meet with always ask me the same question. Do you already have buyers? And I'm like, absolutely. I'm already working with people that are qualified. And the reason that I know I'm working with people that are qualified is because we are having a problem with inventory. There's not enough homes for sale for the market to keep on the demand. Does that make sense?
That line works 100% of the time.
It does, huh? The buyer line?
No, there's not enough, the inventory line.
Yeah, the inventory line.
Because they see it.
Yeah. So, and here's the other thing. When can I tell my buyers and the other agents in my office about your home? I would write those down. Those are super important. When can I tell the buyers and the other agents in my office about your home? And then the last one, here's the one where I always hook them. Everybody wants to see their property on a pedestal. I always wrap up my appointment for like, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, when can I send my professional photographers so that they could take pictures of your home? 90% of the time, if they're committed to the process, they're gonna tell you, hey, send the photographer this date. Does that make sense to you guys? So I want you guys to write those things down that are very important. Number 5 on the habits of successful real estate agents is have a plan on listing presentations. You can never give up on a prospect if a prospect says, I have to think about it. However, once you guys develop the confidence in these sales activities, I'm gonna start to tell you guys, fire certain customers. Now that I'm at a level where I produce more, if a person tells me I have to think about it, then I put them in the back burner. I'm not focused 100%. I know that there's people that are hot and ready to transact right now. Have you guys been able to tell the difference between the people that are really committed or not? Because I have people that it'll take them 3 weeks to send me documentation for a pre-qualification. I have people that the next 2 hours I'll have the documentation and it's good to go. Yeah. But the only way you will be able to understand that is if you have a plan of action. And that's why I'm telling you guys, if you guys are doing the listing presentation, never take no for an answer. And the people that are telling you that they have to think about it, you need to put them on a drip campaign so that you're constantly. Jesse just had that scenario today, right? You had a consumer that said, I have to think about it. They were ready to go. And
yeah.
So this applies to you.
The seller, yeah.
Yeah. So motivation is very important when you guys are doing a transaction. What's your motivation for buying the home, or what's your motivation for selling the home? That question helps me out tremendously, because once they start to talk to me about their family and things that they're going through, then I have a very clear understanding of whether they're going to go 100 miles per hour or if I'm going to have to walk them through the process and I'm going to have to cut all my fees, give them money for closing costs or whatnot. Does that make any sense for you guys?
Yeah.
All right, I'll shut up about listings now. So number 5, explain everything that you're doing. I cannot stress out the fact that you guys need to make sure that you guys are providing the exact same type of customer service to every single customer. Today, I gave you guys the example that I was able to help a lady with a $100,000 mobile home purchase. This lady referred me a $1.2 million listing. And the lady says to me, I'm gonna give you my boss's information. And the reason I'm doing that is because my boss heard me talk about how good your service was during the whole transaction, that she was so surprised that somebody would speak so highly of that. Because I want you guys to know that our industry has set the bar so low. Everybody provides such crappy service, and the reason they do that is because we're all commission hungry. You know why we're commission hungry? We're commission hungry because our pipelines are weak. So we have one customer, and it's like we corral that one customer so much that we end up forgetting that it's about the customer versus about the money that we can make. So this is why it's important for you guys to explain every single part of the process. Get into the habit of breaking down what happens next. Have you guys ever got anybody that sell you something over the phone, and then once you commit to the buying process or whatever they're selling you, like they're selling you some type of insurance or whatnot, they'll right away go into, well, let me explain to you what's going to happen after we hang up this phone call. You guys need to make sure that you guys are explaining that, because people want to know what's happening after that. One of the biggest things that I get is agents don't know how to explain that the minute that they get into escrow, they have to make a deposit within how long?
3 days.
Within 3 days. Some of these clients take more than 3 days and it voids their contract. I blame that on not being able to explain everything that you're doing properly. You should over explain. And if you're at the level right now, which you guys are all at, where you guys don't have a massive production, you should have the ability to do a one follow-up call with your customer every single day. Alejandro, how's your day so far? Do you have any questions for me? We just did the septic tank inspection. Do you have any questions about that? Let me explain to you how the process works. Does that make any sense to you guys?
Yes, and I think at the same time that shows your value. The reason why you're charging 6% is because I'm doing this on a constant daily basis.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because they'll see the value. They want an advisor.
Yeah.
So you know what? This is one thing I always tell David all the time. We need to call customers to tell them that there's no update. I call people all the time and I'm like, hey, I just want you to know there's no update. And they're like, really? You're just calling me for no update? Yeah, I'm calling you for no update because I know if I was the consumer, I would be shaking in my boots. I would be losing sleep at home thinking, is my deal going to go through or not? But see, for us, we look at these transactions every single day that we forget the actual value that we provide to the customer as a consultant. Not to mention, we're getting paid top dollar to do all this stuff. Have you guys seen your commissions? I mean, I look at my commissions and I'm like, people are paying me so much money to do this. I cannot provide shitty service to a customer that's giving me this type of respect. Does that make any sense to you guys? Yeah. So that's why I want you guys to get into the habit of explaining everything that you're that you can. I wrote something down here that says, keep them informed every single step, no matter how small it is. Like if they just did the inspection, hey, I want you to know that they just did the inspection. It went well. I'll let you know when the report gets here. I love that I've been following this process for the last few months because it's been helping me determine the winners and the losers. There's like companies that, and I know you guys have been seeing it also, but there was inspection companies that we had a relationship with and we were working with them and their service was so crappy. And I'm thinking to myself, it takes them 3 days to get me what I need. This should be done within 24 hours. But that only got to that point until I started to explain to the customer, hey, they did the inspection today, right? You'll have it in 24 hours. Well, I was wrong. That service provider would provide it 3 days later. And now my explanation was a lie. Does that make sense? So it's helping me finely tune the process. Habit number 6, have a large sphere of influence and keep track of it and use it. Right now, I know you guys don't have the opportunity to go and visit family members and friends, but I would say that you guys take the advantage of having a very large center of influence. Center of influence is what's going to make you that extra money that you need. Grab the client, refer them. If you can't do the business, you know how many times a lot of my family members buy out of this state? You think I just tell them, no, you go buy wherever? I'm very, very efficient about that. And I call somebody in another state and I'm like, hey, I'm referring you a very solid lead. Where's my 25% compensation on that? Because I'm always working my sphere of influence. Reaching out to them is a very, very necessary step right now. You guys want to know why? Because they need to know that you care of what's happening right now. A lot of your consumers are losing their jobs. A lot of your consumers might be getting sick with the COVID-19. A lot of your consumers just want to hear from somebody like yourself that's in the market that they need to get a market update. 90% of the phone calls that I'm going through right now are like freaking out because they think that we're going to go into this real estate crisis and this crash. And as far as I'm concerned, we're still funding loans. In 2008, when they cut us out, they really told us, hey, get rid of everything you have. We're not funding anything. And I think it took over a year for them to allow us to fund any more real estate transactions. That's not the current market condition right now. So I would say take advantage right now when I see you guys interacting with each other. Unless you guys are going to buy a house from each other, I would recommend that you guys work on that habit and start calling the actual consumers that are not in the real estate field and tell those people, hey, how do you feel about the market? I told you guys about the Lopez family. We scheduled an appointment with them and I did a 42-minute assessment of their concerns in the real estate market. And would you believe that it opened up a whole avenue of brand new transactions? They said, Jesse, we need to sell. Jesse, we need to buy. Jesse, we need to refinance. Jesse, we need to do so many transactions. But now is the time for you guys to contact your sphere of influence, because this is what's going to hold you through these times. And I guarantee you that there's always that one family member in the family that just hit it big and they caught a break and they have money to buy. The last thing you want is for them to think that you're a half-ass individual that can't even sell them a home. Because it sucks to go into somebody's new home and everybody's talking about it, and you're that real estate professional that's there that had nothing to do with their success when it came down to purchasing that home.
And they ask you, it's like, oh, did you have them?
I know it happens to me all the time, and I hate it. I'm like, oh, I should have reached out. I did it. So anyway, that's why I want you guys to contact your sphere of influence. Have a morning routine. This is something that I've been working on. How many of you guys have a predetermined time of wake up, or you guys just wake up whenever you guys want? Really, you guys do? That's amazing. Can somebody tell me what your predetermined wake up time is? 5:50. 6:30? 5:50? Wow, that's cool. Perfect. Have a morning routine. A morning routine is very, very important. Here's a habit I want you guys to write down that's going to help you guys a lot. When you wake up, go straight to getting a glass of water and drink a full cup of water. I would write that down if I was you guys, for your own health. All of a sudden, I'm a health guru. No, I've been tracking myself. I want to share with you guys. I'm so excited about that. Where is it? Where's my health tracker thing? Good at the gym. The gyms are closed. Oh. So anyway, have a good morning routine. Every good agent has a successful morning routine that before they get into work. A lot of you guys, how many of you guys have kids that are staying home from school right now, or family members? Hey, tell me that morning routine is not difficult when they sidetrack you so much. Like, my morning routine has been so messed up, and everybody thinks that I'm crazy because they're like, there's no school. What's happening here? And my whole approach to thing is that it can go downhill real quick if I don't fix that stuff. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure that my morning routine is structured so that the rest of my day and my plan is all followed through. Even to where I see so many real estate professionals, and this is what I was telling you guys today in the morning mastermind. If you don't have a predetermined schedule, there's no way you're successful. Not to a level where you could say you're going to produce at a high level. And some of you guys really need to take that seriously, because as independent contractors, people are going to think that they can call you whenever they want to, and you're going to go pick up that carton of milk. You don't have that type of freedom. But the reason you have, and this is something that happens to me all the time. How many of you guys have been in the car with me and I have no gas and I'm like on negative, more than negative? You know why that happens to me? Because I don't have a routine to pump gas the night before. So every single day, I'm always trying to catch up. Does that make sense? So I want to make sure that you guys write that down. Have a morning routine. Number 8, and I know there's a lot of them. I want to make sure I communicate. Communicate with people as quickly as possible. You guys suck at breaking bad news. I see that all the time, and I'm not trying to say that as a negative. I just want you guys to work on it. If there's this happened to me right now on a property, Vista del Canyon. I already had a committed buyer. We were going to go into contract. It took me such a long time to close the seller because he had to take $6,000 less than the amount he anticipated to get. Tell me why the buyer walks on me and I still haven't told him. Does that make sense? Like, I should have communicated that when. The minute I got it. Why? Because right now I'm trying to come up with some type of lie that I'm like, oh, something happened, when I could have just been like, hey, they canceled. They didn't want to buy the property. So I just created a communication. Clients hate when you don't call them back in a decent time frame. It's certainly understandable. We all feel that way. How many of you guys don't get calls back from people, or you guys send text message and you guys don't reply to each other? This is what I was trying to train you guys with the emails this morning. I am crazy about making sure that the emails get replied to, because when you guys are getting the active leads, I need to make sure that you guys are saying, hey, these leads are working or they're not. But communication is very important. You guys need to give the customer the bad news. What did I tell you yesterday, Abraham? That septic tank inspection needs to be in the seller's hands and in the buyer's hands right now. You want to know why? Because you tell her last minute, if you tell her last minute, she's not going to commit. The most successful agents return calls, I would say, within 2 hours. Matter of fact, the Board of Realtors says in our code of ethics that we need to respond during business hours within 4 hours. Has anybody ever heard of that? It's professional etiquette. You have to respond within 4 hours. My standard is 2 hours. If you send me some type of communication and a client calls me, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. Like right now, I have people calling me and texting me. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing, but I'm going to call them within 2 hours. Get into the habit of doing that. Like I said, you guys have to break the bad news right away. The most successful agents reply to emails and everything promptly. Number 9, this is something that I think we lack on a lot, is utilizing social media completely. How many of you guys know that social media is a free platform? Right? So this is where I'm going to request you guys to help me. I have something that's called a retargeting campaign. In my retargeting campaign, people are looking at everything that the company is doing constantly just because I have Google helping me do this. It helps if you guys are constantly posting and mentioning at Global Premier Properties, because this gives us the ability to create traction. So what I need you guys to do, people don't know what you guys are doing. People don't know that you guys are hustling and grinding and all that stuff. You need to make sure that when you're out showing property, and this goes for you too, Dennis, because I need you to kill it in social media and I want you to. When you're out showing property, I would say to do a quick visual and video of what you're showing. Make sure that people know there, because I get this all the time. I never post anything about property, and then I post something and all of a sudden it's like, I'm interested in buying.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say no to that money. Does that make sense?
In the past month, you posted 18 times more than I've seen you post before.
Yeah, and I started doing that just because the coaching that I have says I need to make sure that I take full advantage of my social media. And at the same time, I guess people in real estate want to see that we're successful. So there it is. You need to make sure that your clients and your prospect are getting the recognition that they want. That's my fault. To me, it's like I like to keep my customers' life private, but then I'm seeing they move my cheese to other people are posting the clients. So maybe you guys need to take advantage and start taking pictures with customers so that you guys can finely tune your customer experience. If you close on a customer, if the customer had a good experience, take a photo with them, post it on your social media. Does that sound difficult? No. Your social media accounts are probably your biggest stream of income if you know how to utilize them properly. One advice that I'm going to give you guys are out there doing something that's not professional or business-like, I would say stay away from posting it out there. The reason why I know is because when I have my moments and I'm putting the alcohol that I'm drinking or whatnot, the first thing that I get is like, oh my God, you're drinking and this and that. It's not a professional conversation. Does that make sense to you guys? So I would just say, just be very, very aware that people are watching what you guys are doing. You know what I mean? And people, and I hate to say it, yeah, who cares? You can do whatever you want, be whoever you want to. But the reality is that you guys are establishing a business. So you guys need to make sure that the business is finely tuned and professional. Does that make sense? So help me out with that. We're almost done. I'm tired of talking.
What? You are? That's weird.
I know it is weird. All right, number 10 is know what your customers want. Write that down. That's super important. Know what they want most and what your company does best. Focus on those where those two meet. Yesterday, I went to Mr. Juan's property, and as I showed up to Mr. Juan's property, Mr. Juan was an older version of myself. Automatically, I'm like, oh man, we're going to talk for about 3 hours. We're going to go back and forth. I went to the presentation, and sure enough, as I expected, the gentleman could talk a lot more than I could. So instead of doing my normal thing, guess what I did with the customer? I asked him what he wanted. I said, Mr. Juan, what do you want out of all of this? He broke it all down for me. You guys need to get into the habit of stop selling people the things that you guys think they want. Ask them the questions. The one question that I like to use the most is, if you were to move, where would you go next? And you know what 90% of the people say that I try to take to the Antelope Valley? Do not take me to Palmville. Have you guys ever got that? I don't want to go to Palmdale. Do not take me to Palmdale. You know why they say that? Because they're probably tired of working with other real estate professionals that are like, you don't qualify for a lot. Let's take you all the way to Palmdale.
40% end up over.
Yeah. So this is the approach that I take. What do you want? If they tell me I want to live in the valley, I already know that I'm not going to recommend Antelope Valley. I'm going to recommend a co-borrower or a larger down payment. Does that make sense? You guys need to have a clear understanding of what the clients want so that you guys are not out there giving your own opinion. I'm going to move on to the next one because I have an appointment. 11, having a decent insight about mortgages on the market. This is why we developed the morning mastermind. I know some of you guys that are not showing up are already professionals at mortgages, but I think the game changer for me was when I had a clear understanding of the loan process. How many of you guys have a full, clear understanding of the loan process? I would say I'm still learning every single day what happens in mortgages. Like this whole coronavirus really threw everybody a curveball. All of a sudden, the most qualified individuals didn't qualify for things. You know why? Because they changed the debt to income ratios. This is a reason why I'm telling you guys, if you guys are doing it virtually and showing up to the Zoom, or if you guys are here live in the facility, you guys need to make sure that your mortgage knowledge is in ship shape. You need to be able to tell a customer, hey, I need W-2s, I need tax returns, all that stuff. You want to know why? 60% of the competitors don't even know what mortgage is. They just think they're selling homes to people. They let the loan officer do the job. We need you guys to literally marry the mortgage conversation into your massive follow-up and the massive touches. This morning, I told you guys, do not get into the habit of quoting interest rate just because you see it on the computer. You need to make sure that you're asking the proper questions. And those questions, like everybody asks me, Jesse, what's the interest rate? I'm always like, what's your credit score? Like, Jesse, what's the interest rate? What's your down payment? Jesse, what's the interest rate? What type of loan program are you looking for? Does that make any sense? I'm only able to defend myself and be a better professional because I have that knowledge. And that's the knowledge that I'm going to encourage you guys to come in and see every single day at 8:30 in the morning, because right now we're going over closing costs. And how many of you guys have been frustrated with closing costs? I've been at the closing table way too many times where I'm like, how the hell do we not know that that customer needs to come in with $20,000 and now we want them to go and ask everybody in their family for money? Am I the only one that's gone through that? Because I've been there way too many times and I'm really frustrated. Number 12, this is the most important part. We are not a real estate company. We are a lead generating company. I want you guys to get into the mindset of that. If you're not generating leads, you're not generating a pipeline. If you're not generating a pipeline, you're not generating any income. So you need to have a mentality that when you come in here, you're here to generate what? Leads. Because the leads are going to convert into customers and the customers are going to convert into commission checks. Those are things that are very, very important. I know a lot of you guys are not yet participating in the hybrid program, but why not? Why not have an extra source of income? Some of these people that are on our site are hot buyers that have making a predetermined decision to purchase a home. And like I said, they're so frustrated with their realtor that's sitting at home, drowning in the whole COVID-19 thing, that they just want somebody like Jesse to pick up the phone and be like, hey, I have these 5 properties, go show them to me. Does that make any sense to you guys? So I want you guys to make sure that you guys consider any source of generating leads. A great example is David Patikian. Have you guys been watching the success that he has by just calling? And I watch him and I'm like, what are you doing? He says, I'm just following the scripts that you're giving me and I'm just calling. And he only calls about an hour a day, does his thing, goes to the appointment, and his goal is 1 a day. And I'm like, man, even if he does 30 within a month and he's at a 10% conversion, how many of those will actually convert? 3. Hey, I'm super happy closing 3 escrows every single month. That puts you guys like at a $15,000 GCI. I'm not mad at $15,000 a month in income. But sometimes we can't get out of our own way to just say, hey, let me make the phone calls that I need to make. So I want you guys to understand that these habits are things that are not going to develop over time. This is the advice that I'm going to give you. If you guys are having a hard time with a habit, attack that habit first. I see you guys sometimes getting into calling the leads and then you kind of take a step back. There's something that's triggering you not liking doing the calling of the leads. I get it. We all hate rejection. I hate rejection. But I understand that rejection is going to get me one step closer to my goal. I said something that was key. There's two things you're going to do. You're either going to make phone calls to prospect on new leads and generate income, or you're going to be calling all your debt, all the credit cards, all the cars, and you're going to be asking for them to what? To forgive you or to give you some type of forbearance agreement. I'd rather be on a position where, hey, I'm generating income because I'm sticking to it. And here's the beautiful thing. This is my closing. My closing is that 80% of the people that are in the industry are going to drop out. That's why when everybody's like, are you not worried? I'm not worried at all. I'm actually happy because the people that should have never been in this industry are going to start to drop out because they're not going to be able to keep up with the objection of COVID-19. And if you guys are lead generating for the company, what are you guys doing on the KB core if they're saying COVID-19? Hashtag COVID-19. You guys know why, right?
We can follow up on it.
So we could do a massive follow-up. I know there's restrictions are pretty big. And did they say 3 more months on that?
July.
Yeah, is that set in stone? Because I was trying to find the data and I couldn't find it. I was looking like deep last night, but really is it 3 more months? Oh, okay. Anyway, that shouldn't stop you.
Yeah, because
We're busier, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are busier. But that helps us just because we're staying in the right mindset. Again, there's some tools that I'm going to teach you guys in the morning mastermind. These things that I wrote down, I've been doing them every single day effectively.